For decades, the United States has waged countless wars across the globe. But is it truly about national security, or is there a hidden agenda, one driven by power, oil, and regime change? Stay with us as we uncover the hidden forces behind wars and toppled governments. What if these conflicts aren't about security at all, but profit and power? By the end of this video, you'll discover shocking truths. Corporations profiting from chaos, secret deals, and hidden motives. And the reality is far more disturbing than you can imagine. From the Middle East to Latin America, Africa, and now Eastern Europe, the US military machine has intervened time and again. They tell us it's about protecting freedom, but the real story is far darker. Under the guise of national security, the US has toppled governments that didn't align with its global interests. Saddam Hussein in Iraq, Gaddafi in Libya, both removed not for the sake of democracy, but to assert control over strategic regions. In Afghanistan, the Taliban was ousted, only for the country to become a battleground for influence and resources. Venezuela, with its vast oil reserves, saw efforts to destabilize Hugo Chavez and later Nicolas Maduro. In Syria, Bashar al-Assad became the target, but the deeper game was about controlling energy routes and maintaining influence over the Middle East. These interventions are often justified by the rhetoric of freedom and protection, but the underlying motives are far more complex. Where there's oil, there's war. The pattern is undeniable. Nations rich in resources often find themselves in the crosshairs of powerful countries, leaving behind a trail of instability and conflict. So, is it truly about security, or is it about power and resources? The truth? It's never been about dictators or terrorists. That's the story they sell us. Behind every war, every so-called humanitarian intervention, there's a prize, hidden in plain sight. Oil, minerals, geopolitical control. These aren't just battlegrounds, they're treasure troves, and the real players are fighting to control them. Why else do you think nations like Iraq, Libya, and Venezuela are always in the crosshairs? It's not democracy they're after, it's domination. Take Ukraine as the latest battleground. A nation caught in the middle of a power struggle between the US and Russia. The US frames it as a fight for democracy, but in reality, it's a proxy war for control over Eastern Europe. Ukraine's strategic pipelines and access to resources make it a prime target for both superpowers. Is it really about freedom or global dominance? Then there's the long-standing US support for Israel. It's presented as an alliance for peace and stability in the Middle East. But the reality is far more complex. The US supports Israel not just for security, but for control over a strategically crucial region. Meanwhile, the Palestinian people suffer as pawns in a much larger geopolitical game. Is it truly about protecting democracy or securing dominance in the oil-rich Middle East? The Middle East serves as a chessboard where superpowers play out their strategies. The US presence isn't just about safeguarding Israel, it's about maintaining a foothold in a region pivotal for global energy supplies. The control of oil routes, military bases, and alliances with key regional players are all pieces of a larger puzzle. This support extends to billions in military aid and diplomatic backing, ensuring that the US retains its influence. The narrative of peace and security is used to justify actions that often lead to further instability and suffering. The Palestinian territories become a flashpoint, where humanitarian crises are overshadowed by geopolitical maneuvers. It's a stark reminder that in the realm of international politics, the lines between ally and adversary are often blurred, and the true motivations are buried beneath layers of rhetoric and propaganda. So, when we talk about alliances and support, it's crucial to question: who truly benefits? Is it the nations and people in the headlines, or the unseen hands moving the pieces on this geopolitical chessboard? The stakes in this game are incredibly high, with real lives and futures hanging in the balance. What if national security is just an excuse? A convenient lie sold to the public while corporations reap the benefits. Billions are made, governments fall, and the American public is told to believe it's all for democracy and freedom. But behind the scenes, a different story unfolds. Corporate interests drive decisions, influencing policies and shaping the world to fit their agenda. Take, for instance, the oil industry. Wars in the Middle East have often led to control over vast oil reserves, ensuring massive profits for energy giants. Companies like Shell and BP reaped the benefits after the Iraq War, securing lucrative contracts to extract the country's oil. Under the radar, the Iraq Oil Law of 2007 sought to hand over even greater control of these reserves to foreign corporations. Halliburton, through its subsidiary KBR, profited from no-bid contracts to rebuild Iraq, while their former CEO, Dick Cheney, had already laid the groundwork for their success during his time as US Secretary of Defense. Meanwhile, Afghanistan, known primarily for its war on terror, holds nearly $1 trillion in untapped mineral wealth, another hidden reason for prolonged involvement. Private military contractors like Blackwater raked in billions, performing operations with little to no oversight, all while tech giants like Palantir mined military data for intelligence, securing government contracts to expand their influence. Defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon see their stocks soar with every new conflict as governments pour billions into military spending. Pharmaceutical companies exploit crises, pushing for policies that favor their patents and pricing, while tech giants gain unprecedented access to data and markets through government contracts. The media plays its part, spinning narratives that keep the public in the dark. Politicians, swayed by lobbyists, make choices that benefit the few at the expense of the many. It's a pattern of manipulation, where power and profit take precedence over truth and justice. And in this game, the stakes are higher than ever. But at what cost? Thousands of lives lost, countries left in ruins, and a cycle of war that never seems to end. The devastation is not just physical, but emotional, tearing apart families and communities. Are we the victims of a global power grab disguised as national defense? The toll on humanity is immeasurable, with generations affected by the trauma and loss. Economies are shattered, and the hope for peace seems like a distant dream. As we witness the aftermath, we must ask ourselves, is this the legacy we want to leave behind? The consequences are far-reaching, impacting not just the present, but the future of our world. The wars, the excuses, the endless interventions. It's time to question the real reasons behind US military dominance. National security or global domination? What do you believe? Are these wars justified, or are we all being deceived? Comment below and join the debate. If you found this video insightful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more content on important social issues. Join the conversation and help spread awareness. Thank you.